In this video, we'll study about the third ventricle. So this is the third ventricle and this is the cavity of the diencephalon. In the midline, it looks like a slit-like cavity and it is situated between the two thalami and the part of the hypothalamus. It extends from the lamina terminalis. So this is the lamina terminalis. It extends from the lamina terminalis anteriorly to the superior end of the cerebral aqueduct. So this is the cerebral aqueduct of the midbrain. So this is the superior end. So it extends from the lamina terminalis anteriorly and the superior end of the cerebral aqueduct posteriorly. So this is the extension of the third ventricle. The cavity of the third ventricle is lined by a ciliated columnar epithelium, the ependyma, and it is traversed by a mass of grey matter. So this is the interthalamic adhesion, that is the mass of the grey matter which connects the two thalami. It traverses the third ventricle. The outline of the cavity is very irregular due to the presence of several diverticula or recesses. Next we'll see the communications. Anteriorly on each side, the third ventricle communicates with the lateral ventricle through the intraventricular foramen of Monro, and posteriorly it communicates with the fourth ventricle through the cerebral aqueduct of Sylvius. It receives the cerebrospinal fluid from the lateral ventricles through the interventricular foramina and transports it to the fourth ventricle through the cerebral aqueduct. Now we'll see about the boundaries of the third ventricle. So it has an anterior wall, posterior wall, roof, floor and two lateral walls. First we'll see about the anterior wall. The anterior wall is formed from above downwards, the anterior column of the fornix, then you have the anterior commissure and then you have the lamina terminalis. So these three form the anterior wall of the third ventricle from above downwards. Next we'll see about the roof. The roof is formed by the ependyma that stretches across the upper limits of two thalami. So here I have removed the left thalamus to visualize the third ventricle. So the roof is formed by the ependyma which stretches across the upper limits of the two thalami. The ependyma is reflected from one thalamus to the other at the site of stria medullaris thalami. Anteroposteriorly, the roof extends from the interventricular foramen to the habenular commissure. The floor is formed from before backwards by the optic chiasma, the tuber cignarium and the infundibulum of the pituitary gland. Then you have the mammillary body and then the posterior perforated substance and finally the tegmentum of the midbrain. So these structures forms the floor. Now we'll see about the lateral wall. The lateral wall is formed by a curved sulcus that is called as the hypothalamic sulcus, which extends from the interventricular foramen to the cerebral aqueduct. So this is the cerebral aqueduct. So this sulcus is the hypothalamic sulcus. So the sulcus divides the lateral wall into a large upper part. So this is the upper part and this is the lower part. So the upper part is formed by the medial surface of the anterior two-thirds of the thalamus and the small lower part of the lateral wall is formed by the hypothalamus. And it is continuous with the ventricular floor. The two lateral walls of the third ventricle are normally closely approximated. Hence, in coronal section of the brain, the cavity of the third ventricle appears as a median vertical slit. This is a diagrammatic representation of the third ventricle. So, this is the third ventricle. So, when you see the anterior boundary, The anterior wall is formed from above downwards by the anterior column of the fornix. So this is the anterior column of the fornix. Next you have the anterior commissure and the lamina terminalis. So these forms the anterior wall. The posterior wall is formed by the pineal gland, then the posterior commissure and the commencement of the cerebral aqueduct. The roof is formed by the ependyma that stretches across the upper limits of the two thalami. Anteroposteriorly, the roof extends from the intraventricular foramen to the habenular commissure. The floor is formed by the optic chiasma, then the tuber cinereum and the infundibulum of the pituitary gland, the mammillary body, posterior perforated substance and the tegmentum of the midbrain. The lateral wall is formed by the upper part of the lateral wall is formed by the thalamus and the lower part of the lateral wall is formed by the hypothalamus, separated by the hypothalamic sulcus. Next we'll see about the recesses of the third ventricle. The cavity of the third ventricle, it extends into the surrounding structures as pocket-like extensions or protrusions. So these are called as the recesses. So first we'll see about the infundibular recess. It is a deep tunnel-shaped recess extending downwards through the tuber cinereum into the infundibulum, that is the stalk of the pituitary gland. So this is the infundibular recess. Next is the optic recess or chiasmatic recess. It is an angular recess situated at the junction of the anterior wall and the floor of the ventricle just above the optic chiasma. Then the anterior recess or the vulva of the ventricle, it is a triangular recess which extends anteriorly in front of the intraventricular foramen and behind the anterior commissure between the two diverging anterior columns of the fornix. Next is the suprapineal recess. It is a blind diverticulum which extends posteriorly above the stalk of the pineal gland and below the Tela choroidea. Then the pineal recess, it is a small diverticulum which extends posteriorly between the superior and the inferior laminae of the stalk of the pineal gland. These are the recesses in the model: the infundibular recess, the optic recess, then or supraoptic recess, then you have the suprapineal recess and the pineal recess. Next we'll see about the choroid plexus and the Tela choroidea of the third ventricle. The Tela choroidea of the third ventricle in the roof of the third ventricle is triangular in shape. The choroid plexus of the third ventricle hangs downwards from the Tela choroidea as two longitudinal anteroposterior vascular fringes. The blood vessels contributing to its formation are derived from the anterior choroidal arteries. Next we'll see about the clinical correlation. The third ventricle, being a narrow slit-like space, is easily obstructed by the local brain tumors or congenital defect. The obstruction results in an excessive accumulation of the CSF inside the brain, resulting in an increased intracranial pressure in adults and in an hydrocephalus in children. The site of obstruction can be found out by ventriculography. The tumors in the floor of the third ventricle give rise to hypothalamic syndrome consisting of diabetes insipidus, obesity, etc. The narrow cavity of the ventricle and its recesses are important in localizing lesion in the central part of the hemisphere since they manifest as slight deviation from the midline. It is important not to interpret the interthalamic adhesion as an abnormal mass in the transverse CT scans.